there's a strange silence that follows power. Not the loud, thunderous rise of ambition, nor the applause that greets victory, but the silence after, when the throne is taken, the crown secured, and the soul begins to whisper, "What have I become?" Imagine a candle burning in a vast and empty hall. Its light doesn't simply reveal, it casts shadows. And in every human being who seeks to lead, to influence, to rise above the masses, there is both the flame and the darkness it creates. Machiavelli understood this before almost anyone else. He did not write for saints or for dreamers. He wrote for those who dared to look into the abyss of human nature and not flinch. Niccolò Machiavelli, the name itself has become a synonym for manipulation, deceit, ruthlessness. But the truth buried beneath centuries of moral outrage is far more disturbing. Machiavelli was not advocating evil. He was describing reality. To him, power was not about virtue. It was about understanding what men are, rather than what they pretend to be. He once wrote that men are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and deceivers, and that a ruler who ignores this truth will be destroyed by it. The weak believe the world rewards goodness. The wise know the world rewards results. And here lies the paradox. The more one clings to virtue, the easier it is to be devoured by those who do not. The moral man may be admirable, but the Machiavellian man is effective. The question is, which one survives? Power, Machiavelli knew, is not given, it is taken. But every act of taking demands a toll. To seize control of others, one must first master control of oneself. To lead men, one must accept what men truly are: selfish, afraid, ambitious, and easily seduced by illusion. Power is not maintained by idealism, but by managing these illusions skillfully. So Machiavelli stripped away the comforting lies. He saw politics not as a stage for morality, but as a battlefield of instincts. And in doing so, he became both prophet and heretic. A man who dared to write the truths that everyone else concealed behind sermons and smiles. Yet, beneath his cynicism was something more profound, an act of liberation. Because to see the world as it is, unfiltered by moral vanity, is to gain the one power that cannot be taken, clarity. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "The man who fights monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster." But what if the only way to survive among monsters is to become one, deliberately, consciously, with eyes wide open? That is the Machiavellian question, and it cuts deeper than politics. It seeps into every human heart that has ever wanted influence, love, or respect. The Machiavellian laws of power are not confined to kings and tyrants. They live inside the silent negotiations of everyday life. The boss who smiles while calculating, the friend who flatters with intent, the lover who conceals truth to preserve control. We like to believe we're guided by honesty, integrity, compassion. Yet when faced with betrayal, competition, or the threat of insignificance, how quickly do those ideals crumble? Power is not merely the ability to command others. It's the capacity to shape perception, to decide which truths are visible and which are buried. Machiavelli teaches that the world is not ruled by morality, but by the mastery of appearances. He invites us to ask, if truth itself is powerless, what then must one become to survive among liars? This is the world Machiavelli revealed, not to celebrate corruption, but to expose the theater of human nature. And once you see that stage, once you glimpse the strings that pull the marionettes of morality and ambition, you cannot unsee them. The first law of Machiavellian power is not deception, it is sight. The courage to look at humanity without illusion, and to realize, perhaps for the first time, that the shadow has always ruled the light. There is an ancient game unfolding in every room of power, one that begins not with swords or armies, but with smiles. Behind every handshake, every promise, every carefully chosen word lies a choreography of masks. Machiavelli did not invent this game, he simply revealed it. He saw that the surface of society, its morality, its rhetoric, its courtesies, is nothing more than a theater of survival. The beautiful lie of human civilization is that honesty rules. The truth, however, is colder. Perception rules. And those who understand this, Those who learn to sculpt appearances, to control narratives, to move unseen beneath the surface, are the true masters of fate. Machiavelli's The Prince was never a manual for tyrants. It was an X-ray of human behavior. He wrote of princes, but he was writing about us, the way we maneuver through social hierarchies, seduce attention, and disguise vulnerability beneath confidence. Every politician, every influencer, every leader who rises understands, whether consciously or not, that sincerity alone is a form of weakness. A ruler cannot afford to be good all the time, Machiavelli warned. He must appear good, while possessing the flexibility to do what is necessary when virtue becomes a liability. A wise ruler, he said, cannot and should not keep his word when it is against his interest. To modern ears, this sounds cruel. But look closer. It's not cruelty, it's realism. A person who insists on perfect honesty in an imperfect world does not elevate morality. They surrender it to those who are willing to play dirtier. Deception, in Machiavelli's universe, is not evil, it's art. It's the art of reading the hunger in people's eyes and feeding it just enough illusion to earn their trust. It's the ability to hide your intention until it's too late for others to resist it. It's the skill of bending the emotional weather, making others believe what you want them to believe, not through force, but through mastery of image. Consider the lion and the fox, Machiavelli's two symbols of power. The lion represents strength, the fox represents cunning. To rule effectively, he argued, one must be both, strong enough to inspire fear, clever enough to escape traps. But few understand the deeper meaning. The fox is not merely deceptive, it is aware of deception. To deceive others, you must first see through their deceptions. You must learn to perceive the masks beneath the masks. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The Machiavellian version of that truth is simpler. Until you recognize the lies that govern your world, you will remain their prisoner. The greatest lie, after all, is not the one we tell others. It's the one we tell ourselves. We convince ourselves that our motives are pure, that our actions are noble. We build narratives to protect our sense of goodness, even as we manipulate, compete, and disguise. We wear our ethics like armor, but deep down we all know, survival demands more than sincerity. This is why so many are afraid of Machiavelli. He forces us to confront the hypocrisy of our own morality. He holds up a mirror and says, "Look at yourself. You too play the game." And that's the secret most never dare to say aloud. The most successful people are often the most artful liars, not because they enjoy deceit, but because they understand its necessity. They see that the world is not a moral contest, but a negotiation of power wrapped in illusions of virtue. The beauty of deception, as Machiavelli saw it, lies not in the act of lying, but in the dance, the delicate balance between truth and performance. To lead others, one must learn to choreograph that dance, to decide what to reveal and what to conceal. In a world ruled by appearances, sincerity is not the absence of deceit, it is the mastery of it. And once you accept that, you no longer chase approval. You create it, but every dance comes at a cost. The more masks you wear, the harder it becomes to remember the face beneath them. And that is where the next law of power begins. The peril of self-betrayal. The mask, if worn too long, begins to fuse with the skin. That is the tragedy Machiavelli understood but never dared to write outright. That the art of power, when perfected, risks consuming the artist. It begins innocently, a small deceit to win trust, a strategic silence to avoid confrontation, a calculated charm to bend someone's will. And then, slowly, you realize the face you show the world has become your reality. You have built an empire of perception, but you no longer know who lives inside it. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must learn how not to be good. But what he did not say, or perhaps only whispered between the lines, is that the cost of such learning is the erosion of self. When every emotion becomes an instrument, every word a tool, the soul begins to fracture under its own control. Power promises freedom but delivers dependency, on influence, on image, on the endless maintenance of control. The person who once sought mastery over others becomes enslaved by the necessity of being seen as masterful. Every glance becomes a potential threat, every weakness a risk. You begin to move not as a human being, but as a strategy. This is where the game turns inward. The greatest danger to the Machiavellian mind is not defeat by others. It is defeat by one's own creation. There is a point where manipulation ceases to be a weapon and becomes a mirror. The deceiver must remember every lie, every role, every performance, until he no longer remembers the truth at all. And yet, there is brilliance in this tension, because hidden within the peril of self-betrayal lies the possibility of transformation. For the person who sees themselves becoming their mask can, if they have the courage, awaken. It is here that philosophy and psychology meet. When you realize that power over others means nothing if you cannot govern yourself. Michel Foucault once said, "The most important form of freedom is the freedom to think differently." That is the freedom Machiavelli never found, though he sought it his entire life. Exiled from Florence, betrayed by those he once served, he spent his final years not in the palace, but in solitude, stripped of power, left only with thought. And in that exile, he saw the full architecture of human ambition. How easily power blinds, how swiftly control collapses into paranoia. Perhaps that is why The Prince feels so modern, because it is not just about political power, but psychological power. The manipulation of others begins with the manipulation of the self. To command loyalty, you must convince yourself you deserve it. To inspire fear, you must suppress your own. To rule, you must become both actor and audience, playing every role until reality itself bends. But the deeper you go into the labyrinth, the harder it is to find the way out. What begins as mastery of the world can become estrangement from it. You begin to lose the simplicity of emotion, the uncalculated joy, the unfiltered sadness, the quiet peace of authenticity. Everything becomes performance. And yet, paradoxically, this awareness, this very suffering, can become the threshold of wisdom. Because once you recognize the illusion, you begin to see the contours of truth again. You realize that the purpose of power is not merely to dominate, but to understand, to comprehend the forces that drive human behavior, including your own. The true Machiavellian does not seek to be ruthless for its own sake. He learns ruthlessness only to grasp the full anatomy of compassion. He deceives only to recognize the weight of honesty. This is the paradox of enlightenment through darkness, that by walking through manipulation, you may arrive at self-mastery. For only the one who has conquered the temptation to control others truly learns how to control himself. The peril of self-betrayal, then, is not the end of the path. It is the initiation into deeper power. Not the power to rule, but the power to see. There comes a moment in every pursuit of power when the throne begins to feel like a cage. The very thing one sought to command begins to command in return. The invisible hand, the silent weight of expectation, loyalty, reputation, tightens its grip around the heart. Power, Machiavelli understood, is not an object you hold. It's a living force that must be constantly fed, managed, and feared. The ruler cannot rest. The strategist cannot pause. The illusion must always be maintained. In this endless performance, one begins to sense the quiet cruelty of control. Because to maintain the illusion of authority, you must deny yourself the luxury of being human. You must not falter, not reveal, not doubt. You must bury tenderness beneath discipline and transform fear into calculation. And yet, the deeper truth, the one Machiavelli only hinted at, is that no one owns power. We are all merely its instruments. It moves through us like a current, shaping our choices, bending our morals, whispering to us in the language of necessity. When power flows easily, we call it success. When it withdraws, we call it betrayal. But in both cases, it is we who are possessed. This was the hidden irony in Machiavelli's vision. The ruler, though feared by many, is himself enslaved, not by others, but by the image he must sustain. His actions are dictated not by freedom, but by the fragile architecture of appearances. He becomes the prisoner of his own legend. Hannah Arendt once wrote, "Power corresponds to the human ability not just to act, but to act in concert." And that is the secret Machiavelli saw buried within the cynicism of politics. that power is not held by one, but maintained by the cooperation of many. Every tyrant is, in truth, a reflection of the fears and desires of those who submit to him. It is easy to condemn the prince for his manipulation. It is harder to confront the fact that most people want to be manipulated. They crave certainty, even if it comes from deceit. They want someone to embody the strength they cannot find within themselves. They want to believe in the illusion, even knowing it is false. So power becomes a mirror. It reflects not only the will of the ruler, but the hunger of the ruled. The Machiavellian does not create corruption, he reveals it. He simply steps into the space that collective weakness leaves open. But here lies the tragedy. Once you understand this, once you see that power is not personal but systemic, the allure begins to fade. You realize that the struggle for dominance is less about triumph and more about survival within a web that no one truly controls. The invisible hand governs not through violence, but through dependence. Through the need to be needed, the fear of irrelevance, the seduction of admiration. And yet, there is liberation in this realization. Because once you see that power owns no one, that it is a transient energy passing through human hands, you can begin to detach from it. You can act within the game without becoming consumed by it. You can play the roles, use the masks, wield influence, but remain untouched by the illusion of permanence. This is the higher Machiavellianism. Not the ruthless pursuit of control, but the serene understanding of its impermanence. It is not about conquering others, but about ceasing to be conquered by the need to conquer. The invisible hand may guide the world, but it cannot touch the one who sees it clearly. The true master of power is not the one who commands nations, but the one who stands in the storm of influence and remains inwardly still. He uses deception as language, strategy as poetry, and control as art, but he is ruled by none of them. For when illusion is understood, it loses its tyranny. And from that clarity arises something greater than dominance, freedom. When the fire of ambition burns itself out, what remains is silence. The applause fades, the alliances crumble, and the illusions that once defined your strength drift away like smoke. In that silence, stripped of masks, stripped of victories, one must finally face the oldest adversary of all, oneself. This is where every Machiavellian journey ends, not in conquest, but in confrontation. For the one who has mastered power must eventually ask, what was I seeking to control, if not the fear within me? Machiavelli's world was painted in shadows, betrayal, manipulation, deceit. Yet beneath its darkness lies a strange kind of light. He was not writing to celebrate corruption. He was writing to awaken consciousness. He was reminding humanity that to navigate the chaos of politics and emotion, one must first recognize the forces moving within the human heart. Power, in its purest form, is not domination. It is awareness. It is the understanding of how easily virtue bends under pressure, how swiftly love turns into leverage, and how fragile conviction becomes when tested by survival. And when one finally sees this, truly sees it, something breaks open. The hunger for control begins to dissolve, replaced by the quiet strength of self-possession. There is a freedom that comes only after disillusionment, a clarity born not from victory, but from loss. The kind of clarity that no longer seeks to manipulate others because it has already conquered its own illusions. Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote, "Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world." To transcend Machiavellian power is to expand that field of vision, to see that control over others is only a fragment of mastery. The greater empire is internal. For when you can govern the chaos within yourself, your impulses, fears, and desires, no ruler, no tyrant, no invisible hand can command you. You become untouchable not through strength, but through stillness. Machiavelli's so-called cruelty was, in truth, a mirror for humanity's delusions. He showed that morality untested by reality is fragile, that innocence without intelligence is a liability, and that goodness without strength invites exploitation. But the highest evolution of his philosophy lies not in manipulation, but in transcendence, in using awareness of darkness to build integrity that cannot be deceived. The final law of power is not how to rule others, It is how not to be ruled by the forces that once drove you to rule them. To reach that state is to step beyond Machiavelli, to become both the lion and the fox, yet governed by neither. To move through the world with strategy, yet not be trapped by the need to win. Because the truth is, the game never ends. The world will always be filled with cunning men and smiling liars, with hidden knives and golden promises. The theater of power will never close its curtains. But you, if you have learned to see through it, can walk off that stage and enter something far more dangerous: authenticity. And perhaps that was Machiavelli's hidden message, buried beneath the cynicism of the prince. That by facing the ugliness of power, you cleanse yourself of its poison. That through deception you discover the value of truth. That through the lust to rule, you awaken the longing to understand. What remains then, when ambition burns to ash, is not emptiness, but space. Space for wisdom, for discernment, for compassion no longer naive. Power, once external, becomes internal, quiet, sovereign, self-contained. In the end, the true prince does not wear a crown. He wears awareness. He commands not armies, but his own instincts. He rules not over others, but over the restless kingdom of the mind. And as the candle burns down to its final flicker, the shadow that once ruled the light begins to fade. For the one who has seen both sides, virtue and deceit, strength and surrender, no longer seeks to conquer the world. He simply understands it, and in that understanding he is free.